Hey, good afternoon, guys. My name is Eric Warren, owner of Keyless Media Group, and today we're going to do a little bit of a tech talk where it seems that everybody is always asking me what type of gear I use, what do I shoot with, what kind of drone do I fly, what lenses do I use, things like that. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time and go over some of the things that I use to shoot my car videos, my real estate videos, and other commercial work for different clients. So my main camera that I use 90% of the time is the Sony a7S III. Now, I love this camera just simply because of the fact that it has excellent low light performance. I can shoot at 4K 120 if I really need to, but overall, this camera is just a massive, massive workhorse. I personally love it. I had pretty much every Sony body that's in the mirrorless line up until this camera, the A7R III, the A7R2, the A7S2, the A7 III, and I finally moved to the A7S III when I started doing a lot more video work. Now, personally, the A7 IV was my favorite camera for a long time. Like as a hybrid camera, you just can't beat the performance that you got from the photo side with the higher megapixels than the A7S III. You had the crop factor when you shot video, especially when you were shooting 4K. But the A7S III is better suited for my workflow because 90% of the work I do now is video versus when I was doing a lot more photo and video work put together. So the A7S III paired with the 24-105 is fantastic. And a lot of people talk about this lens as a lens that is very versatile, but sometimes they'll opt for the 24-70 G Master, or they'll opt for something with a little bit more focal length like the 70-200. But the 24-105 for me is a sweet spot when it comes to walking around and filming different types of video and having the versatility of the focal length as much as I need. And f4 isn't really that bad when it comes to having the depth of field that you would want with a faster lens, because I typically pair it with an ND filter, a variable ND filter, that allows me to stop it up as much as I want to and really open it up and get that nice soft bokeh. So the 24-105 with the A7S III is my typical walk around combo. Now the other camera that you don't see is the camera that I'm filming on, which is the Sony the Sony FX6. And I'm using my 70-200 f4 with it as well, and that's another fantastic combo. I recently started shooting with the 70-200 on my A7S III with the gimbal, and just beautiful depth of field, beautiful fall off from the focus point, and it's actually not too hard to wield with the gimbal as long as you have really good technique and you do a really good job balancing your camera. Speaking of gimbals, the gimbal that I use is the Xeon Crane 3S. Now this gimbal, compared to like the DJI RS3 Pro, the payload capacity is a little bit higher than that, but I personally love the ergonomics of it. I love the way it feels. I love the balance. I will use a tripod as a handle, and I also opted for the smart handle so I can control all of my settings from the back. And sometimes I'll shoot with it like this, but most of the time I end up having it on my digital photo ring. That way I can get a little bit more leverage when it comes to certain types of shots, specifically those multi-axis shots where I'm panning or rotating the camera on one axis and then also moving around. It's a little bit easier for me to do that having something that has 2 points of contact on the outside, and if I need to get a higher shot, I can pick it up and hold it from the bottom, or a low shot and hold it from the top. Another lens that I like to use is the Retro Photo House. They actually refurbished the Helios 442, and so it's a 58mm f2, and it's a manual focus lens, an old photo lens that is incredible. Now, it's sharp as long as you're in the focus plane that you need to be in, but the characteristics of this bokeh from this lens are just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And a lot of people have been jumping onto the vintage lens train and using this lens, so I picked it up because I heard a lot of people talking about it. Started messing around with the video a little bit, and I also opted for the anamorphic mod. So you get that nice simulated anamorphic streak whenever you have any type of light direction or light hits or anything like that. It looks great. When it comes to monitoring everything, I use the Lilliput H7. This is a 7-inch 4K monitor. It's not super fancy. It's not like a small HD or the Shinobi Atmos or Atmos Shinobi or the Atmos Ninja, but I love it. It's big. It's 1800 nit. But using it outside in direct light is not a problem. Using it inside is not a problem because you have that really crisp, really sharp screen, nice and bright. And you can also upload your own LUTs into it. As long as they're in cube files, you can use that and see exactly what you're doing while you're working. Now, the drone that I used to have was the DJI Inspire 2. And I had it with the Zenmuse X5S camera and gimbal. Great combo. The problem was it was huge. And if you're familiar with the DJI Inspire, whether it's the 1, 2, or the 3, you know that the form factor on those drones is huge. So if you're traveling a lot and you have a lot of shoots to do, you have to have your own case, your own essentially luggage box to go along with it. And so because I travel so much for what I do, I decided to go with the Mavic 3. Now the Mavic 3 has a fantastic Hasselblad camera. It's still got the great sensor that the other Mavics have, but a lot of the newer technology that's been wrapped into this and the software for the interface, I think blows the Inspire 2 away. So I went with this because it has a smaller form factor. It literally folds up and fits into my camera bag, and I don't have to carry a separate piece of luggage for it. So I love this drone. I've flown drones for years, both commercial, defense, and then, these smaller consumer drones. And this is probably my favorite drone I've ever had. So that's what I use. I still have the standard controller. I'd like to pick up a smart controller at some point for it, but we'll see how that goes. Got other priorities. But this is what I use on a regular basis. This is in my bag. This is my kit that I use almost every day. And if I'm gonna go out and shoot, the A7S III with the 24-105 or the 7200 is definitely in the bag. The FX6 comes with me if I have to do a 2-camera setup, or if I have something that's more involved in a project, or if there's a bigger production that I have to do, I'll bring that as my A camera, use the A7S III as my B cam, and then I always make sure to have a different array of lenses, the 7200, the 58mm f2, the 24-105, and sometimes the 16-35 if I'm doing real estate, which is really the bread and butter spot for that, unless you want to go wider, which I typically don't. You can't really see the lights that I have, but obviously I'm using external lighting. I prefer using the GVM and the Westcott lights for continuous lighting. The GVM is a bicolor that allows you to change it. You can control it with Bluetooth. I have this big parabolic with a couple of different panels to go with it as well. And then I have a 3-light kit from Westcott that's 150 watts. Love it. It's always a great supplement when you're trying to balance natural light and using artificial light to help make your quality better. So if you have any questions, please let me know. But this is my kit, and there'll be more videos just like this where I'm going to talk more in detail about some of these specific pieces of equipment that I use and how I use them the way that I do. So until next time.